Hello everyone and welcome to Draft Academy, and the first episode is going to the basics of drafting. To draft you need 4 boosters, and if the tournament organiser is good, that is all that is required. Other than that, you can bring sleeves, usually something to track your score, all the usual stuff. Draft packs are the easiest way to get hold of the boosters you need. If not, the advised boosters for you to take is 1 Equestrian Odysseys, 1 High Magic and 2 Marks in Time. So after that you need to get into your draft pods. The advised size for a draft pod is 8 people. If you have less people, then just everyone's in the same pod. If you have more, it's usually easiest to split down the middle. So if you have 10 people, having 2 pods of 5 is usually what people go with. You need to be close enough to each other to pass each other items, as you will be passing cards around the table. Other than that, once you're set up, it's time to begin drafting. You open 1 booster at a time, and you open it based on when the set is released. So with the draft packs, it goes Equestrian Odysseys, High Magic, and Marks in Time. When you open your first pack, so does the rest of the table, and you need to look at these 12 cards and pick one of them. You take that card and put it face down on the table, and you get to keep that card, passing your booster to left or right depending on which way you've been told, and then you repeat this process until there is no cards left in the booster, whereas then you can move on to the second booster. Or a bit more of an in-depth example, let's say you started, and so you take 1 card and it goes down to 11 cards. You pass those 11 cards to your left, and from your right you will receive another 11 cards. From those 11 you'll take 1 and reduce it down to 10. You'll pass those 10 to your left and receive 10 from the right. This process repeats and repeats and repeats until you're passed 1 card and you have to keep it. After that, you then move on to the next booster, and chances are you'll be passing to the right and receiving from the left that time. So in summary, the most important points are, you only take 1 card at a time, you put all your picks face down, open your earlier boosters first, and don't open extra boosters until no cards are getting passed around the table. So after you've done this with every booster, you'll have 48 cards, and you need to make a draw deck of a minimum of 30 cards and a 5 card problem deck. Now the first question I got asked when I was trying to explain drafts to my friends was, but if I can hardly make a deck with 8 boosters worth of cards, how am I supposed to make a deck out of these 4 boosters worth of cards? And the answer is you're doing a draft and you're handpicking every card, so in theory you should have at least like 40 cards that you can play, which you'll reduce down to your 30 card draw deck in the end. Which quite nicely puts me onto the next section of the video, basic drafting strategies. And there's 3 main things you need to think about while you're drafting, which is requirement, power, and disruption. Each set has their own few cards in it to help you with requirement for your off colour or your own colour. In Equestrian Odysseys there is a large amount, as it's designed to be the first set. There's the Cutie Mark Consultants, there's the vanilla 2-for-2s, and then there's those friends with the abilities. Other than that, it also has Makeover and Singing Barrel if you need them. High Magic has the friends that check your main character's colour, and it has the ones you can banish from hand. And then Marks in Time has the Pet Cycle of 3-for-3s and the Growing Up Cycle. Then there's Power, which is quite simple really. Things that can end games, like Magic Wings, Night Glider, stuff like that. Or the movement shenanigans, anything like that. Stuff you just definitely want to help you win the game. And finally there's Disruption. Each colour disrupts a little differently, but they all can use troublemakers as well. Sometimes Disruption is going to be more important than Power, depending on what deck you're building, but usually they're quite equal. After all that, you need to not forget to get some nice problems, because just getting given all of the ones with no abilities means that you'll fall behind when they're getting buffs and you're not. So after chatting to my friends, I grabbed a few questions that they had about drafting, and I thought I'd answer them here. After the draft, you keep all the cards you picked. There is a list of main characters and starting problems that are supposed to be provided by the organiser of the tournament. The mains are the Equestrian Odysseys ambassadors and the new CMC mains from the draft packs. The problems are Locked Out, Totally Lost, and Winter Startup. Now even though the tournament organiser is supposed to provide them, I always personally bring my own in case they run out or they just didn't have enough stock or anything like that. This one's a bit of a hazy answer, but you can just take it if it's expensive and you're like, man, I could trade that into things I want. I do it all the time, I'm very guilty of it, but then again I think I'd struggle to find anyone who would go, oh, I'm not going to take Night Glider overpowering, I'm not running blue. No, you only need the correct boosters for the draft, and it's not the only way to draft. There's an advised old block draft, which is from the 4 sets, one of each booster opened in chronological order again. After that, you can do really anything you want with a draft. You can just draft one set if you want, using the relevant give out cards for that block. You can do a chaos draft where you just sort of get all the sets, jam them together and pass the boosters out randomly. That's usually a lot of fun, but as is in the name, it's quite chaotic, and the handouts are going to be a bit different because you've got all the blocks going on, but I'd easily advise the Equestrian Odysseys ones for that because they're actually just really nice and easy to use. Other than that, there's only one main version left of how to draft, which is Cube. I'll get into it to more detail in my next video of Draft Academy, but Cube is the draft you create yourself. Hope this helped you out, and thanks for watching. Hey, so a quick announcement, I am now collaborating with Metaphorical Productions, which is a podcast for the CCG. We discuss topics about the game on a weekly basis, if we can continue to think of topics. If you want to hear me unscripted and chatting, it's the best place for it. Links in the description. I need to apologise for the lack of content recently. I have been busy with a lot of stuff in my life, but I wanted to get this done as I've been sitting on the audio files for way too long. Sorry about the wait, I should be able to make videos on a somewhat consistent basis now again, but I'm just going to have to test the water and see what I can fit into my life. Sorry about this, but it's all I can do.